And the Picatrix is, notoriously complex magic because there's a lot going on, Like you have to have the terrestrial correspondences to go with the celestial correspondences, and then be ready. You better be ready
Right.
at that moment, dressed up in the appropriate attire, knowing your conjuration.
Yeah.
So it is a very complex type of work,
Hmm.
and also a lot of the ingredients, unfortunately, if not impossible to source,
Yeah.
very difficult. When you're talking about wolf brains, that's going to be
Right.
difficult. Yeah.
Yes.
You know?
Oh man.
So going back to what you were saying, that lineage is very, very interesting.
Hmm.
And there, it's part of a grander evolution in Arabic occultism. There was a time where there was a focus on image magic, on making these kinds of talismans, rings, objects that capture a celestial moment
Mm.
into a vessel. But that is part of a grander evolution. So there was a focus on natural sciences, how they call it back in the day. So elemental correspondence, and they just, combining all of that in a single object that has metaphysical power. But
Yeah.
eventually it translated into more invocatory summoning practices, kind of more like the Solomonic. A
Right.
lot of the principles that the Solomonic practice employs, guess where they got it from?
Right. Yeah.
From summoning to binding to but they did add a lot of the stuff. I mean, the license to depart, all these things. But I'm
Hmm.
not saying the Arabs are the inventors, okay?
Right.
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is they've been really open and integrative of the practices from China, from ancient Greece, ancient
Mm.
Egypt, ancient Babylon, from India as well. India is a big one. It's a
Yeah.
huge influence. And that goes with the central geopolitical situation, where they were between empires,
Right.
basically. And then it just kind of like fused together, and the Europeans took it. And again, they developed it. It just goes on and on and on and on and on. So never.
Hmm. Well, welcome to the Casual Temple. Today, we're thrilled to introduce you to Reda Ruhani, a talented magician who has a specialty in Arabic magic. Reda is also a spiritual guide on YouTube, where he talks about all things magical and spiritual. Reda shares the many lessons learned on the path to becoming a professional spiritual worker with hundreds of satisfied clients across the globe. Reda's channel is a treasure trove of mystical knowledge where he shares deep understanding of magic and a spiritual practice that has a pragmatic approach filled with a bit of smarts and a lot of heart. Whether you're new to the world of magic or a seasoned practitioner, Reda's teachings are sure to enrich your spiritual journey. Reda, welcome to the Casual Temple.
Thank you. Thank you, Merly, for your kind words, and thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you so much. I just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about how I kind of found your channel. I think I was looking specifically for because I know another person that practices Arabic magic, and I was like, oh, I wonder if there's other practitioners that share on YouTube, and that's how I found you. And your videos are so informative, and you're kind of no nonsense in a lot of ways, but in a way that's
Yeah.
very personable. And yeah, so I just thought it was just wonderful. So I'm so happy that we get to chat today.
Thank you. I really appreciate that because you kind of honed in on what I'm trying to do here. Like we know in occultism, esotericism, mysticism fields, like there's a lot of fluff. And I
Yes.
try to take all the fluff out and get right down to business, tell people how things are, and hopefully they benefit from it. So I'm
Yeah.
glad it struck a chord with you.
Oh, yes, for sure. It's definitely a breath of fresh air in a lot of ways. So I'm appreciative of that. Oh, man. So we kind of just start at wherever you consider the beginning of your practice or what you can, if you have a spiritual journey or wherever you want to start, we can go from there.
Okay. All right. Well, I noticed again, taking the fluff out, I noticed a lot of people in this field, they're like, well, ever since I was young, I always was very spiritual. This dimension was very present in my life. And, that is true for me in many ways. I
Yeah.
was born in North Africa. My country is very well known for its spiritual practices. Let's just put it that way. And there were some people in my family who were involved in this field. However, I was never the spiritual kid. I was never the one who's like, I see spirits, I see ghosts, or the one who has imaginary friends or guides or whatever the case. I was not that person. Okay. And the way that magic kind of imposed itself on my life is that I was targeted by it. So I was first a victim. Okay. And from some very, evil kind of heinous black magic.
Mm.
And, when you fall target to this kind of stuff, it just starts influencing and manipulating your life in many ways that you don't really understand. Now, with the experience that I have professionally, personally, I do in many ways that most people don't. But it just affects everything from your relationships, including family, loved ones, friends, career, academic success, professional success, you name it, it affects it because all of these things have a spiritual dimension. So fast forward a little bit, life gets to the gutter and then it gets worse and then worse and then worse and then worse. And then at some point, I kind of had like an epiphany, a personal aha moment where I'm like, well, hold on, wait a minute. Because first of all, this proves that magic works, that it exists, and that the spirits exist, and that they're powerful. Well,
Hmm.
if all of these things are true, we can certainly try to hone that to better our life instead of destroying it
Right.
you know and that's when my journey started on a personal level where you're like, okay, well, I'm going to harness this knowledge, this power, this skill, this competence to make it better. And took me more than a decade, approximately 12 years, give or take. But that was my personal journey where, this is my path. I'm studying it and I'm practicing it. A lot of research, a lot of reading, as most people, a lot of trial and error, experimentation, constantly refining, constantly learning. And then I hone my craft to the point where I was able to completely transform my life upside down.
Hmm.
And now, for a few years, I've been doing it professionally for other people. Okay. So, and it's funny to say, but when you look at the grand scheme of things and how things just lined up, I think I'm doing exactly what I was meant to be doing,
Yeah. It
in many
sounds like
ways.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yep.
Uh, I like that you were saying sort of how you figured out, oh, I can, instead of like letting all of like the black magic or whatever was going on with that, like the negative stuff,
Yeah.
you're like, I
Yeah.
can, there's actually a positive component that you could steer your life toward, using those,
Hmm.
using similar methods. So I haven't heard anybody kind of explain it that way, but it's so simple. But I
Yeah.
really like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is something that I advise everyone to do, because I'm a healer primarily. Most people think that I'm the Jinn guy, but that's not true.
Yeah.
Most of my practice is actually helping people getting rid of negative entities, negative
Wow.
energies, and healing from many times lifelong spiritual afflictions.
Right.
And these people, they get angry, they get vengeful because they're like, well, I didn't do anything to deserve this. Why is this happening to me? And a lot of times they trying to, kind of persuade me to do some work for them, like kind of like vengeful or vengeful man. Like, look, your resources, going back to your point, your
Yeah.
resources, your time, your energy is best spent on making your life better. No matter how many people you attack, no matter how much suffering you bring upon them, and even if you're justified, it doesn't do anything for you. It doesn't make your life better. So again, to your listeners and their audience and their viewers, same recommendation and advice that I've given all my clients that I give to you. The more you focus on yourself, the better return of investment you will have on your time and energy, bar none. And this is true in any field,
Yeah.
you know, not just in magic.
Yeah. Oof, man. So, gosh, that was perfect. I love it. Um, so you said you were kind of studying for like 10 years. Did you have any support or guidance in terms of like people that helped you along, or was it all self-study?
Well, I did learn from a few people, okay, but to be totally transparent, yes, and some of them I might consider a teacher, but no one kind of sat down with me like I'm doing now with my students and like A, B, C, D, E, F. Like you just have to figure it out. And I think that is the best barrier of entry because let's not forget this science, this field, this knowledge is millennia old. It started with us since the beginning of humanity. So you kind of have to be someone who reads between the lines. You kind of have to be someone who has street smarts, who can put two and two together. If you are the kind of person that you feel that you're always getting the short end of the stick, I do not advise you to get into this field because you will be dealing with invisible entities who have the jump on you, who know what you're thinking, what you're feeling. So this is not for everyone. Okay. And I was one of those people that and even now the content that I make is for the same kind of people who are able to read between the lines, to see the blue writing on the wall, as we say. And looking back, I do see that I did get some guidance because I did seek some guidance from angels, for you're worried about protection, you're worried about your safety. So I did seek some protection from some angels, and in their very angelic way, they did provide it. I could not see it when I was just putting one foot in front of the other, taking baby steps.
Hmm.
But right now, where I am in my life, what I was able to accomplished because I'm not some old dude, like who's 60, 70 years old with a long beard and like I'm still relatively young, or I
Yeah.
feel like it at least. I do see that my progress was really guided and influenced. In many ways, one could say that they've been silent mentors, that they shaped my journey in many ways. I can understand at the time, but
Yeah.
and again, I always tell people evaluate backwards. You see, you won't see it on the spot.
Mm-mm.
It's in retrospect.
Hmm.
Take some time every 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year, 2 years, sit down with yourself, take inventory. And you're going to be like, wow, I could not have done this by myself. There is no way.
Yeah.
So that's, again, something I share with my people and,
Yeah.
for the
Ah,
good of others.
yes. And again, such simplicity and like evaluating backwards. Because I've been telling some folks recently, it's like you don't know that it's a sign until you like do the review, right?
Oh,
Until
yeah. Oh,
the
yeah.
thing happens that you were like wanting to happen or putting some energy into happening or whatever.
Hmm.
You don't know until you go, oh wait, that thing happened, and then that, and then all these steps that led to but at the time you don't think they're a sign. You might have noticed it and been like, that was weird, and then just but kept going on your day. But
You're
um
absolutely right. You're
yeah.
absolutely right. And that, shows right there, just the fact that you're telling that, I'm guessing to a friend, someone you care about,
Yeah.
is it shows up your experience because you cannot see that like the first three rituals or the
No.
first 3 months. It's when you've been doing it for years on end that you start to develop that discerning muscle.
Hmm.
Okay, now I see these things. Now, like, this is what I do professionally. People come to me like, Brett, this happened. I'm like, well, can't you? After
Yeah.
like 3 days. But
Yeah.
each person is different in that learning curve. But very good
Totally.
point that you touched on. Absolutely.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's very fun once you're in the groove of it. It's fun to look back. But so in we talk a lot about books, especially in sort of this particular space. Were there any specific books that you would recommend or that were helpful on your path?
So most of the books in Arabic magic
Hmm.
are under pseudonyms, meaning that Al-Buni is not the one who wrote the Shams al-Ma'arif. He wrote a book that was a predecessor, and then there's another author who contributed to it.
Right.
He's the Magic Squares guys because there's a lot of Magic Squares in Shams al-Ma'arif, and that
Hmm.
guy is a Sufi master whose name is Al-Bistami. Okay. And he did a commentary and that was integrated into Shams al-Ma'arif. So just to give you the problem with books in Arabic magic. And most of the books that help me the most, they have no author. Many times they don't have a title. They're
Right.
part of a collection and like you find like 4 pages that are really useful. It's in the middle of like this 500-page manuscript. So sometimes you could read a whole book just to get one insight or to find one good spirit.
Yeah.
Um, but a title, like few titles that come to mind. There's one that I find does a very good job, very succinctly, combines many different elements of what I do is إغاثة اللهفان في تسخير الملائكة والجن, which means the aid of the distressed in the employment of angels and jinns. Okay.
Wow.
So that's one of them. Like anyone who just wants to get a basic understanding reads Arabic. This is for our Arabic listeners. Then there's also Shams al-Afaq fi ilm al-huruf wal-awfaq. That's the son of horizons in the science of letters and magic squares. So that's by al-Bistami, the guy who contributed to Shams al-Ma'arif. But there's also, by the way, there's a third author. No one knows who he is.
Ooh,
No one knows. And that's why a lot of people, they're like, this book seems like it's been written by different individuals.
right.
Because Al-Buni has his own book. It's Shams al-Ma'arif. It's very short. But the one that we see nowadays, it's hodgepodge. It's a potluck,
All right.
an occult potluck.
Yeah.
For people who don't speak Arabic, someone who is very near and dear to my heart, I have a lot of respect for him, is Rain al-Alim. He wrote Jinn Sorcery. And
Hmm.
in that
I have that
book,
book.
he gives, yeah, you read it?
I have that book.
Amazing book,
Yeah.
amazing book. But what I love about Rain al-Alim is that he is very responsible. He says in the book, this is not an instruction manual,
Right.
right? This is a showcase of different techniques within Arabic occultism. So if
Hmm.
anyone wants to see, like, because Arabic is so foreign, like there's the language barrier, the
Yeah.
cultural barrier. If you want to get in touch with what is Jinn sorcery and Jinn magic and all that stuff, he gives you really a good fundamental review. Um, then there's also a book which is more a little bit like I would say Westernly inclined with kind of like a Golden Dawn influence to it by Nineveh Shadrach. It's called Magic That Works.
Mm.
So again, someone who is interested, he does give some rituals, some operations. Again, not saying anyone should practice these. It can be risky. All the
Yeah.
scary stories are there for a reason, guys.
Hmm.
Okay. But anyone who wants to get a grasp of what is Arabic magic, Jinn magic, all that stuff, I think these books are given true for Arabic speakers and for non-Arabic speakers are given true. So I think that's yeah. If you can read Arabic and English, you're gonna have enough.
Oh wow. What a yeah, a great that's an extensive list. It's interesting about sort of the compendium books that you're kind of mentioning where there's like all these different authors because in the West, I'm sure you know, it's like a Hermes Trismegistus, right? Is like this
Yeah,
thing. And there's a
yeah,
lot of like silly arguments about, well, who were they and what were they? And was it, who it's not real if it's not tied to a real person that we can account
yeah,
for in history,
yeah.
and to me, I'm like, these are silly arguments to have because if whatever's in the material is functioning and works for folks, like, calm down.
You're
um,
you're absolutely right. And
yeah,
a lot of the lore about Hermes comes from the Arabs.
I bet. Yeah.
Yeah, because what happens is, and this is my opportunity to clarify this. When
Great.
Europe was in the Dark Ages and people were killing people just for nothing, right? Well,
Hmm.
the Arab culture and the Islamic empire was at its pinnacle, right?
Yeah.
They were the most advanced in science, they were the most advanced in philosophy, medicine, you name it. They were the guys to go to. And one of those things was occultism and
Hmm.
esotericism and mysticism, because there were huge translation efforts from, going hand in hand with the conquest of these countries.
Yeah.
So going back to your point about Hermes, in the Sufi lore, there are three Hermeses. One was before, and Trismegistus, the thrice greatest, is the third one.
Oh, interesting.
So exactly,
Yeah.
see, and basically there's Hermes before the flood. Well, there are two Hermeses before the flood, and there's another one after the flood. And one of them, they say that it's Prophet Idris, Enoch, the inventor of the geomancy,
Yeah.
the science of sands, as we call it, right? So Trismegistus, it has this, and one thought the other. And then the third greatest, they say that he was the teacher of Aristoteles, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's this lineage. There's this lineage. And we have books that are signed by Hermes, pseudo Hermes, Arabic manuscripts. So
Yeah.
it's worth noting that this lore traveled to Europe. There is a gap.
Yeah.
where Europe was not interested in culture and history. There is a gap,
Yeah.
right? And that gap was filled in by the Arabs,
Mm.
you know? So the thrice greatest, all these guys, the Aristotle's, you see him in occult books.
Yeah.
And this is the famous invocation that Aristotle used to chase out demons.
Right.
Hey,
Wow.
what?
Yeah.
Oh, this is the science of the letters and Plato's contribution to this and that. Whoa, what? And
Yeah.
yet in school, we're taught that these are philosophers, right?
Hmm.
Go figure.
Yeah. Amazing. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh. Because I know we had even chatted previously, like even something in today's day, like something like the Picatrix, is something widely used. It's widely referenced. Everybody who studies occultism knows it. But as you know, like it was translated from Arabic to Latin. And then
yeah,
only literally in the last 20 years was it translated from Latin to English
yeah,
by Christopher Warnock and John Michael
yeah.
Greer, right? That's the
Uh-huh.
one. I'm an English speaker. That's the one I go to.
Of course.
So yeah, so it is like this really strong lineage that, I think people are sort of aware of, but not really. And so I think it's really cool.
Well, look, I mean, the Picatrix is Ghayatul Hakim, which means the aim of the wise.
Hmm.
Okay, so we have a different name, but what's
Yeah.
really interesting is that that book, that text was completely lost from the Arabic occult tapestry.
Wow.
So it didn't survive, basically. No one knew about it. We rediscovered it through the Latin. So imagine that it was
Oh,
originally translated from
wow.
Arabic, and then we had to translate it back to Arabic
Back.
from the Latin. Can
Amazing.
you imagine
Wow.
that? Yeah.
Yeah.
But when you read the book, there's like some references to the planetary correspondences of the
Hmm.
Quran and like some verses and this and that. And this usually is the first exposure that people have to Arabic magic. A lot of people who are interested in my work, they're going, hey, I've been trying this from the Picatrix and all that stuff. And the Picatrix is, notoriously complex magic because there's a lot going on.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
like you have to have the terrestrial correspondences to go with the celestial correspondences, and then be ready. You better be ready
Right.
at that moment, dressed up in the appropriate attire, knowing your conjuration.
Yeah.
So it is a very complex type of work,
Hmm.
and also a lot of the ingredients, unfortunately, if not impossible to source,
Yeah.
very difficult. When you're talking about wolf brains, that's going to be
Right.
difficult. Yeah.
Yes.
you know?
Oh man.
So going back to what you were saying, that lineage is very, very interesting.
Hmm.
And it's part of a grander evolution in Arabic occultism. There was a time where there was a focus on image magic, on making these kinds of talismans, rings, objects that capture a celestial moment
Mm.
into a vessel. But that is part of a grander evolution. So there was a focus on natural sciences, how they call it back in the day. So elemental correspondence, and they just, you know, combining all of that in a single object that has metaphysical power, but
Yeah.
eventually translated into more invocatory summoning practices, kind of more like the Solomonic. A
Right.
lot of the principles that the Solomonic practice employs, guess where they got it from?
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
from summoning to binding to but they did add a lot of the stuff. I mean, the license to depart, all these things. But I'm
Hmm.
not saying the Arabs are the inventors, okay?
Right.
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is they've been really open and integrative of the practices from China, from ancient Greece, ancient
Mm.
Egypt, ancient Babylon, from India as well. India is a big one. It's a
Yeah.
huge influence. And that goes with the central geopolitical situation, where they were between empires, basically.
Right.
And then it just kind of like fused together and, the Europeans took it. And again, they developed it. It just goes on and on and on and on and on. It's a
Hmm.
never-ending cycle of evolution, just like our human race. This is
Yeah.
make it a little bit special, in my opinion.
Oh, I like that. I like that as that connection there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's really cool to think about. Um, well, yeah, thanks for that. I feel like you gave a really good description of sort of Arabic magic and kind of, where sort of the different tenets of it.
Hmm.
Um, can you explain in your practice, what do you consider that you do like Arabic magic, or that you incorporate it and that makes it unique from maybe other types of magic that you
Mm.
practice?
Well, I don't practice any other type of
Oh,
magic.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm a very big proponent of, 1 mile deep and an inch wide, meaning
Mm,
like when you find something that resonates with you, I'm an Arab, I'm a Muslim, right?
mhm.
Like I'm not gonna go pick up something else.
Okay.
Okay. I do rely on the teachings of the Abrahamic religions like Christianity and Judaism, but I'm not gonna go pick up voodoo, for example.
Right.
Okay. It doesn't, it, I'm more inclined. And Arabic, everything I do is in Arabic. Every single thing. Okay, from the writings, um, really, there's the heavy reliance on magic squares because we
Hmm.
use the science of letters and numbers, the abjad system to convert them, and then we can make magic squares depending on the intent, depending on the planetary correspondence. There's also an elemental correspondence. So all of this stuff kind of ties in together. There's also taken into account astrological considerations. And I use really the Abu Ma'shars, like the correspondences which are purely Arabic, because again, with the influences, I want to keep it, because when you find a system, you want to make sure that all these different components kind of like fit together. It's like
Mm-hmm.
you have a software and you're trying to download another one that is not compatible, right? Like the framework is not compatible. Like, why would you go for Chinese astrology and try to incorporate that into Arabic magic where you have all this
Right.
richness there? So it's kind of like discrimination of information because there's just so much information.
Yeah.
You have to be. You have to be. You can't be good at all sports, pick one.
Right.
Um, and everything that I do when you ask about uniqueness is proprietary. So
Hmm.
this was sets me apart from other people.
Yeah.
I'm not the guy who's gonna get a conjuration from a book and then just recite it as is. I've never done that. Okay. So I write my own stuff. I write my own prayers. I
Hmm.
research the divine names, or what people call the barbarous, or names of, I research them. I know their meaning. I know why they're there. So that gives a whole other dimension of belief, conviction, and confidence in my work, which is primordial for getting results.
Right.
Right. So that is something I'm very, very proud of. But really, the processes, everything from scratch, everything is like, and people who can really understand Arabic and they can really appreciate the depth of the word. They're like, I've never seen anything like this in my life because they've never seen another Reda in their life. So,
Right.
right,
Exactly.
every person is unique, and I think every path, every practice should be unique according to each person. I'm sure if we look at your practice, probably you had some teachers, you had some influences, but
Hmm.
it's pretty much your own, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I would say for sure.
So, same thing for me.
Yeah. Cool. I like that you mentioned sort of writing your own sort of, I don't call it script, but how you do your
Yeah.
rituals or what you recite.
Oh, yeah.
Only because I did dip my toe into doing a little magic with the Jinn, and I learned
Mm,
what I did learn from that. One, it's probably not for me, as I learned it's not like magic for me. Two, I learned that what you write, and as far as like your request or your thing, is very important. If they think like your request sucks, they're like, "I'm out of here, lady," which was basically what I learned. Was like my request kind of sucked. Like the way I wrote it, it needs to be kind of poetic, and I don't think I took
yes.
enough time for that. So that's what I learned.
Yes.
So,
Yes. The last thing you want to do is make a request and then you said, oh, shouldn't have said it that way.
right.
Right.
Yeah.
So when I'm talking, like, people, like, when you're talking, they just get the finished product. They're like, well, this guy knows what he's talking about, but they forgot like the 12 years of trial and error. So
Right.
when I'm talking
Exactly.
about something, it's not because I learned it in the books, because I got that lesson, and I'm
Yeah.
saving you the time and energy. The last thing you want to do, think of it when I tell people, These titles, they're not decorative. It is a king. Think of it like you're actually going to see a king. You know, in the movies, when you're in the
Yeah.
throne room and you're going to make your case to the king, think of it that way. You're not going to come in like, I don't know, great king, maybe you should, it would be nice if I could have this and this. Like, what?
Yeah.
3 words, 4 words, that's it.
Yeah.
And I always encourage people, sleep on it. Sometimes you want something, you think you wanted something impulsively, but when you think about it, you take a step back, you actually want something deeper.
That's so
Or
true.
sometimes you desire something, but there's something underlying. When people ask me, I'm like, well, what is that going to do for you?
Hmm.
They
Yeah.
say, I want financial abundance. For example, what is that going to do for you? It's going to give me a sense of financial security,
Hmm.
or it's going to give me stability. Well, let's wish for that,
Yeah.
because you
Yeah.
can be abundant but not have the security. Let's wish for that.
Oh,
You see what I
yes.
mean?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So you always have to go 3, 4 layers down, right?
Hmm.
Um, but I totally, again, goes to speak about your experience. The last thing you want to
Hmm.
do is just, and if I tell you, well, you call somebody you don't know, you're asking them for a favor, but you have to persuade them. How do you persuade a king? How do
Exactly.
you get a Jinn's attention?
Right. Yeah.
They're being called, people underestimate the amount of requests, the amount of demand there is for these spirits. I'm
Hmm.
telling you, people underestimate it.
Yeah.
So you need to have different ways to stand out.
Yeah. Get their attention. Yeah. Ah, that's so cool. Makes a lot of sense to me.
Of
Um,
course.
for sure. And definitely the thing you said about layers deep, I think that has to come with experience because of course the when I first started out in my own practice and I would ask for the first thing that came to mind that I wanted to happen, but after it failed or didn't go the way I thought it should, it was like, oh, I actually wanted this thing, the thing
Yes.
underneath it, which is exactly what
Yes.
you described. So very
Yes.
cool.
And one little thing I want to touch on here.
Hmm.
When they say that jinns are tricksters?
Right.
Well, every time you've been tricked, you can look back at your petition, and
Right.
that was the issue. That was the
Right.
issue. 100% of it, like when you say it didn't happen exactly as I wanted, when you
Yeah.
review it, and that's where it comes in handy to write it down.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
The last thing you want to do is, what I forgot this word. Like you see it on the internet all the time, right?
Yeah.
People are like, oh my God, I messed up my petition. Should I do it? Yes, you should do it all over again.
Right.
And you know what? Practice it in the mirror until you can read it. In Arabic occultism, there's a huge emphasis on that. They tell you practice the conjuration until you know it on the back of your hand.
Mm.
And this is something I heard from someone I have the utmost respect for, who's the Dr. Stephen Skinner.
Oh, yeah. Hmm.
Dr. Stephen Skinner, prolific writer, but when he
Yes.
speaks, you know that this man knows magic. You know
Yeah.
that he's a practitioner. And those are the people that I have the utmost respect for. It's not
Yeah.
that they talk the talk or write the writing, but they
Yeah.
actually walk the proverbial walk.
Yeah. For
And he
sure.
says it. You practice the conjuration until you know it. You can recite it blindly,
Hmm.
But me, I go even deeper and say, you know what? Practice your petition as well,
Yeah. Yeah. That's
right?
important too. Because
Think
how
of
are
it as a
you?
presentation.
Yeah, exactly. You need the confidence, right? To do it. So that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so good. So what does what would you like to share at least for sort of walking us through what your daily practice looks like, whether it is involving working with clients or just, your daily sort of magical practice?
So a lot of the days, like there's a lot of client work.
Right.
Okay, a lot of client work, and I try to be strategic. I try to be, I would say, as efficient as it can be, because it takes a toll. Like,
Yeah.
if it takes just the ceremony is going to be 3 to 6 hours to make a pact. So you got to find a way to be efficient, right?
Hmm.
The contracts is going to take longer. Could it take up to 12 hours? It's just like work on my side.
Wow.
But with or without client work, daily prayers to God, the Almighty Creator, whatever name you have for Him,
Hmm.
He is the source of all. I mean, nothing, you're never gonna get a result without His will and permission, even for bad stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so that we know. So the spirits, you're gonna call them by God's names. The blessings you're gonna call them by God's names. But the problems you're gonna avoid, you're gonna you're gonna avoid them by God's will and permission. So God front, left, and center. Um, Prayers for protection, blessings, guidance, all that stuff. Then I do have a daily practice of evocation.
Mm-hmm.
I call it the daily meeting. Okay. And I do it in the morning and at night because there are two cycles. There's the nightly cycle and the morning cycle. That's very important. Um, and basically that's like to strengthen connection. Think of it like if you're having a work meeting and like your boss is checking in regularly to make sure that, push you a little bit.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. But it also maintains the connection and, because you have friends that you talk to every single day, and then you have friends that you talk to every 6 months,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So one is going to take you to the airport at 4 a.m. and one is going to say, I have to sleep tomorrow. I have work, right?
Right. Right.
So that you want to have the 4 a.m. kind of guy, your
Yeah.
go-to, your day one, as we call them. And a lot of now this is the thing that I want to clarify is that there's a lot of personal sacrifice that goes. Okay, abstinence,
Mm-hmm.
meditation is not because I enjoy sitting there and like, it's
Yeah.
because when you're gonna work for 3, 6 hours, you need to have that concentration muscle that is trained,
Mm-hmm.
at a level where you're not thinking about this issue and that person and this stuff, worldly life.
Yeah.
Ritual purity is the worst. Because I'm telling you guys, no one enjoys taking 3, 4 showers a day. Okay. Like
Yeah, for
your
sure.
skin, yeah, your skin is not gonna,
Oh.
and these, like I told you, these are not a lot of the stuff people, they kind of impose it on themselves. I would do without it.
Mm.
But the way that I work, it has to do a lot with hygiene, cleanliness. You have to be completely pure, completely. And I'm not talking about like, we Muslims, we do ablutions and we wash our hands and face. No, no, no. I'm talking
Mm.
about full shower
Right.
every single time. Every single time you're going to do this. So if I sit down to write the pact, I need to be showered. And then when I do the conjuration, I need to be showered. And then if something happens and I
Yeah.
need to go do something, well, I have to stop, go take a shower and come back
Wow.
immediately. I
Yeah.
cannot keep going, and I have to stop before. Yeah, it is. No, this is the less glamorous part
Right. Yeah.
because people are like, "Oh, you're getting results, and that's amazing." Yeah, but there's a lot that goes on into it.
Yeah.
It's like an athlete, the dietary restrictions, the training at 6 a.m., 8 hours a
Mm-hmm.
day, but they're professionals. They're getting paid to do it.
Yeah.
And that's what, again, I always tell people, this is not for everyone.
Yeah.
This is not for everyone. If you get a heart issue, you don't become a cardiologist, right?
That's true.
So it's not for everyone. It's not for everyone. But this is a huge thing. And anyone watching, if you incorporate more hygiene in your practice, it will change your life.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
challenge there.
Oh, yes, for sure. Oh, yeah. That's now making me think about how to incorporate that in my practice some
Yeah,
more for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. Yeah, they
Um,
call it being pure. That's what they call.
mm,
They
okay.
call it being pure. That's what they call it. Ritual purity for me. Like a
Mm,
lot of people in the Islamic background is like the ablution. No, that's not enough. It's a full
whole thing.
shower. Yes, it's microparticles.
Oh, right. Ah, fascinating. Um, so how, and we kind of touched on sort of the Jinn, but how
Yes.
would you describe the Jinn to those not familiar with what that is?
So everyone's familiar with the jinns. Okay, that's the first thing
Okay.
because we all have a jinni double.
Mm,
Okay, we have a guardian angel and we have a Ginny double, just like the Walt Disney movies where there's like a little angel and a little devil here.
yeah.
Well, we know that guy was big time occultist, right? So, um, I
Yeah.
mean, it goes without saying. So that little double there is your Ginny double. Okay. We know they're made from smokeless fire, but there are different jinns, there are different types of races. Okay, there's al jinn, wal jan, wal jinnah in the Quran. I'm not
Mm,
making this up. This is not just from magical books. So
yeah.
the jinn, God tells us that they were created. Uh, I I don't want to mix them up. smokeless fire, and then the other ones were created from scorching wind.
Oh,
Okay, so smoke is it's really like marriage. I mean, not is like the flame. There's like the blue part and the red part, and where they connect.
yeah.
So that's what they were created from. And he said that he created them from before. And we believe that Allah, God, the creator, when he's using these names, when he's changing a name, he says before and this and that. That's for a reason. It's not like a human talking.
All right.
Everything has a reason. And then the jinnah with the ta marbuta at the end is just basically all the jinn world, because God tells us, and I create what you don't know. So it's an umbrella term. And there are
Hmm.
so many sub races. It's like saying Jinn is like human, but you have Asian, you have African, you have Caucasian, you have all these things.
Yeah.
So they have that as well. Um, there are different classes. Uh, Something that I want to set the record straight about is
Hmm.
the Merida and the Afarit. Okay, because I'm having a lot of issues explaining that, and this is
Hmm.
why you can't listen to people who don't know what they're talking about. Okay, the married, for example, there are some people on the internet that they're circulating the information that those are nicer and that they're closer to us and that they're benevolent. Married
Hmm.
comes from the word mutamarrid, which is rebellious. It literally says that. And then God says, we have protected the heavens from every satanic married. The words go together.
Right.
Okay, so I know I messed up a lot of people's businesses here, but please, like, stop listening to these people who have no clue what they're talking about. And just open the Quran. The word married, shaitan and marid, it goes hand in hand. A Satan, a demonic spirit, an evil entity is a married.
Hmm.
A Ifrit, on the other hand, served Solomon. He's the one who proposed to teleport the throne of Sheba, the throne of the Queen of Sheba, right? And that Ifrit is a higher power jinn. A lot of jinn kings are Ifrit.
Hmm.
Okay, and they make up like the elite of their world. They're like the aristocrats. They're usually chiefs, leaders. They have lesser spirits under them, chiefs of tribes, whatever the case may be. And it's really, really important for people to be careful about the information that is being circulated.
Hmm.
you know Discriminate, really, like discriminate of what these people are saying. And always, like, I know, like, no one wants to open the religious books, but there's a whole chapter about the jinns in the Quran. You want to learn, and that chapter says, say, oh Muhammad, and I heard a guy from the jinn. So the whole surah, the whole chapter is a jinn talking.
Hmm.
It's the relation of a conversation of a jinn. So you want to see what the jinn are, go see what the jinns are saying about themselves.
Hmm.
And that is something that is important. These people on the internet, they're outright dangerous.
Yeah.
Let's go get you a nice married jinn queen, a nice married jinn girlfriend. Like, what? See, I'm serious. So
Wow.
I'm getting a little bit emotional here because I
Hmm.
see it all over, and many times I have to pick up the pieces.
Right.
And it's not because, everyone is just trying to make a living. I'm not knocking on that, but people just take the time to educate yourself.
Hmm.
you know so the Afarid, they can be any religion, the Jinn can be any religion, they can be good or bad, just like us human beings, and they have free will, but because of their fiery nature, they're more inclined to mischief. They
Mm.
like a little bit, they're a bit of, they like a little bit of trickery, like.
Right.
And a Jinn is also, it has those fiery qualities. It's very possessive, it's very egotistical, um it's very proud as well, right?
Hmm.
And the end, it often justifies the means.
Right.
So people who are doing divination with jinns, they're like, well, if I tell him this, which is the truth, he's not going to give me an offering. But if I tell him that, which, rubs him the right way,
Right.
I'm going to get an offering.
Oh, that's
Well,
so
guess
funny.
which one is good? Right. Self-interest
Yep.
is prime with jinn. But
Yes.
that's the gist of it, really. Treat them as human beings. And I,
Mm.
I find it humorously funny. Like, incredibly funny when people are like, these are benevolent jinns. Have you ever met a benevolent human being? Have you ever met one? I mean,
Hmm.
Mother Teresa, right?
Right. Rare.
You can. No,
Yeah.
she is ruthless
Oh.
for the children. She is
Right.
ruthless. She is ruthless. And
Mm.
I'm telling you, she is hard as nails.
Yeah.
Because these like so I'm a neutral guy. I'm a benevolent kind of guy. But if you do something bad to me, I'm sure merely like some people, if they cross you the wrong way, they're gonna see a different face of you. So I don't understand. Like you
Yeah.
don't become a Jinn King because you're so nice.
Right.
Think about what you had to do to get up the spiritual Jinni hierarchy, how many people you had to kill and to eliminate. And come on, guys. So
Yeah.
benevolent jinns, nah,
Not a
not
thing.
really.
All
Not a
right.
thing.
Yeah. Ah, that's a good point. Yeah. Always thinking about, I like how you're tying it into human nature because they are related, right?
Yeah,
They're part of our
100%.
ecosystem. Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
And so treat them that way. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
Um, so I did want to ask, because I
Yes.
have heard this in sort of like my occult readings and then in the folks
Hmm.
I work with and talk with. They do talk about sort of the two sides, like the angelic and either call it the evil spirit or the evil Jinn side.
Yeah.
So would you say that how would you describe the Jinn side versus the angelic? Like, why do those exist within, like, why do you have those two as a person?
Yeah. Well, that is a very, very good question. Now, first of all, I cannot
Mhm.
answer it fully
Right.
because that's the creator's
That's
business.
true. Yeah.
But based on my knowledge
Yeah.
and my experience, first of all, God tells us in the Quran, I love to refer to the Quran because it is a revelation.
Right.
Okay. It's a book of revelation. It was revealed verbatim, right?
Hmm.
So he tells us that when they ask you about the spirit or the soul, this is a verse from the Quran. They tell
Mm.
them the soul is of the order of Allah, of
Mm.
my Lord, which means he is the sole proprietor of our soul. That's
Hmm.
his. And then he says that for every soul, he has appointed a guardian. And it's the guardian angel. So if
Yeah.
you have a property that you care about and that is valuable, well, you can appoint someone to guard it for you. So
Mm-hmm.
that is the guardian angel.
Oh,
Okay.
interesting.
And then there's the verse also about the Qareen, that I had a Qareen, and like basically at the day of judgment, the person, the human being, is kind of getting in an argument, like you tempted me, and I'm like, no, I had no power over you. You had free will, and
Yeah.
listen, you and where does that come in Sufi lore? Now, when I say the word lore, this means that there's no basis in reality. This cannot be verified. They say
Yeah.
that when God decided to create Adam, he sent the angels to gather dust, right? The
Hmm.
clay, the dust from all over the earth.
Right.
Okay, all over the earth,
Yeah.
right? That's why they say we're made of stardust. Okay.
Hmm.
And when they gathered it, well, there was some dust that was gathered under the footprints of Iblis, the shaitan, the devil, the
Hmm.
Lord of darkness.
Right.
So that dust is basically what made this satanic kind of jinn. Can we know for sure?
Mm.
Absolutely not. That's why I refer to the Quran, you
Interesting.
know. Um, but why it is, I mean, black and white, good and bad. The good can only be good because there is bad to
Yeah.
contrast it with. It's contrast. God is ultimately good, but he did create a devil,
Hmm.
you know? And I mean, it's to test people. I could go on and on. This is a very
Yes.
loaded
It
question, and
is.
I don't want to bore people.
Right.
but
Yeah.
but we're constantly in a state of tension, being pulled both ways,
Hmm.
and it kind of like cancels itself out, and the only thing that makes a difference is how you are in your heart of hearts.
Mm. Yeah.
And I can speak that from hundreds of people I've been in contact with. I see how some people, they give in and some people resist.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's such a great explanation of sort of those two energies constantly at play.
Yeah, of
Yeah. Very cool. Um, so thank you for that. And
course.
how would you so I'm sure in your practice you do work with the Jinn. Like in what ways do you decide to incorporate their assistance when you're helping your
Mm.
clients?
Oh, they get the job done,
No worries.
you know.
Makes sense.
But it depends. It
Yeah.
it really depends. In my personal practice is like 30, like it's an even third for like God, angels, and the jinns. For my
Mm,
personal taste and
right.
practice, I like to have that balance. Again, so not one overtakes the other. But my
Hmm.
clients, jinns are like edgier. I don't know. People like that stuff.
Yeah.
So it's
Right.
like it's a huge chunk, is the majority of my practices with
Mm,
jinns. And also because it's more suitable for the wishes they're making. Most people, they're looking for material, earthly desires, ambitions, that kind of stuff. And jinns are more suitable for that.
hmm.
Um, how I incorporate them is basically by calling on them and giving them a task. But my practice is very formal. So it's a pact and it's not a petition, it's a mandate. You
Right.
see?
Yeah.
And it's very, very, very formal. It's not like some pretty please. No, no, you are hereby mandated to do this and this for so and so,
Hmm.
right? And do it without, as soon as possible. Okay, as soon as possible. And it sounds like, oh, simple, but it took me years, right?
Yeah.
Just constantly refining. Um, and they're the ones doing the job. And then after that, what they do, what I have noticed is, first of all, they need to find the person. They need to take inventory of their current situation. Then they need to connect to their being. Then they need to look what kind of avenues they have for manifestation. And they do that at a very, very rapid pace, like you would not believe. Like efficiency, we have nothing on them. And I'm telling you,
Right.
nothing. And then after that, things just start to click from influencing people, circumstances, things and that, and then boom. But the thing that amazes me about the gyms, about all this time, is how dependable they are.
Mm.
You have a friend, and like that when you ask them for something, they're gonna say, don't worry, day comes, they're nowhere to be found. Well, the
Oh.
gym has never failed to try. They've
Hmm.
never just said, yeah, yeah, I'm gonna do it, and they've never done anything ever. And that is incredible,
Yeah.
you know? And then I have the contract part, which is basically everything in writing.
Hmm.
So I don't make talismans. I have my own qualms with talismans, but it's like if you have a house, you're not walking around with the mortgage and the title in your hand, in
Mm.
your
Yeah.
back pocket in case someone asks you for it. I
Yeah.
make contracts for people and then it's in writing and they appreciate it,
Yeah.
They appreciate it because they see that you want to be taken seriously. Well, you have to be serious.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a contract.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Um, so can you describe sort of either like a favorite client story or um sort of like the process of how you would work with somebody? Just to kind of walk us
Mm,
through. I know you talked about the contracts, but if somebody were to come to you, like how does that work
sure,
out most of the time?
sure.
Yeah.
Well, a client story, I have many. Like you really get to build relationships with people because you see also they're like their hidden side, occultism.
Right.
I mean, they're making
Yeah.
you, they're imparting their heart's desires on you. There's some
Yeah.
people that, but you don't resonate and connect with everyone the same. But it's funny because my favorite story, the first one that comes to mind, she's a young girl in her 20s. And if someone is interested, the latest interview I just released is actually her telling her story. But the
Hmm.
gist of it is, but there are some updates since then because that interview was recorded a year and a half ago. Anyways,
Yeah.
she comes, she's fully possessed. And I mean demonic possession, not a spiritual attachment, not some kind of black man, not something that is out there. It is in there. And then we did a spiritual purge for her. She was healed. And then after that, we started collaborating. Like usually people like they're like, okay, well, you help me. I know your stuff works. I know you know what you're doing. Help me do this, help me do that. And we started collaborating. One thing leads to the next, one pack, two packs, three packs, four packs. At the time of the interview, she was at 7, 8. Now she's at 27. She just ordered
Whoa.
one yesterday, 27 packs.
Wow.
So imagine if you have, like, again, if you have 27 talismans
Yeah.
or 27 rings, 27 pendants, it's not going to work, right? But because you're not carrying it, I just give you the document. Anyways.
Hmm.
And by the way, no one buys the same product 27 times if it's maybe or maybe not working,
So true. Yeah.
right? Because trust in this field is very hard gained, very easily lost. Like if she
Mm,
does 2, 3 packs and she's not getting any results, well, she's not gonna be a client anymore.
yeah.
But why she is my favorite is because she never got the most expensive, most powerful one. She always got the entry level one, which is very powerful, very effective. And she was very, very intentional with her approach,
Mm,
meaning one pact stacked on the other, like one wish led to another. Um, and also the fact that she was this before, and like she's aware of this field, she has very good capacity for discernment. Like she sees the results,
mm,
but not only the results, but she follows the guidance on the back of that. She also, I'm telling you why this is my favorite. She also understood very much the reciprocal dimension of the work. For Jinns, it's quid pro quo.
hmm.
Quid pro, like you scratch my back, I scratch yours. You forget about me, I forget about you. And she really honed in on that. The other thing is that she followed the instructions. So, and this is what's crazy because I give the same instructions to every single client. I give a guide, it's very comprehensive, it's very detailed, and she managed to get the result every single time.
Wow.
You know why? Because she took consistent action, congruently. So you're not just gonna wait on the postman to drop a blessing
Right.
in your box. You got to go out there and get it, and then it will miraculously, or should I say magically, land on your lap. So she did that. And to this day, her progress, just the other day, like she made the wish. And I was like, that is a wise wish. It translates into so many aspects of your life. And like I see not only the person's situation, but how they grow mentally, emotionally,
Mm,
how they mature. And like I told you, she's like in her 20s. I'm like, wow. And like, some and once in a while she writes me just like, I still have like pinch me moments. And that just it makes me so fuzzy inside, or
yeah.
like it's just she says it's just a matter of getting in my own way. Like they
Mm,
already know the result. I just need to get out of the way.
yeah.
And why I'm telling you this is applicable to everyone because everyone gets the same work. Everyone gets the same spirits.
Hmm.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So these points that are really important. But yeah, I mean, it's she is the record holder, but that's not it. Like there are a lot of people who spend way much more money than me, but than her with me. But that's not it. It's not the money. It's how you see the person getting the results every single time and
Mm,
changing their life in a way, in a trajectory. It's incredible when you see it unfolded right in front of you. And that is like you can see it right now. I'm getting passionate
yeah. Yeah.
because that is the fire in my furnace you know, is
Hmm.
helping people change their lives, especially when they were afflicted. I have a soft spot for people who've been afflicted on account of what I've been through.
Right. Yeah.
And that's why many times they're like, Reda, you just understand this on so many levels. I'm like, well, you can't read it, you can't learn it, you have to experience it.
Yeah.
I don't wish it on my worst enemy, but that's where it comes from.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very cool. It sounds like also that what I'm hearing is she put a lot of effort, her own effort into what you guys were doing together, really, right?
Yeah.
And so it sounds like that's where a lot of this result and a lot of integration for her was coming from, was the effort she was putting in. Um,
I mean, the effort gets magnified.
yeah.
So let's say something that's going to take you 2 years, it might take you a year or 6 months or even three,
Hmm.
depending on the avenues as I was saying before,
Right.
depending how much work. Like your result is there. How fast are you moving towards it? Are
Hmm.
you moving in a straight line or are you going through,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Yes.
So it's not, she would have put the effort, but the effort that she has to put in is much, much, much lower, much, much,
Mm.
much less. That to,
Yeah.
to clarify that.
Oh, yeah. Very cool. So on the whole, so kind of trying to, this is a tough, I'm giving you so many like tough questions, but like, how would you, or how do you view like magic as a whole, and how do you describe it to people who are not familiar? Like, if you were having a drink at a bar and you struck a conversation with a stranger and they ask you what you do, and it involves magic, like how would you describe it to somebody, you know?
Well, no one apart from the people who live under my roof publicly know that I do magic. Now, right now I'm showing my face and all that stuff. So occultism, I take that word seriously.
Yeah.
Okay. So I would never be in a cafe or in a restaurant and someone strikes up a conversation. I'm like,
Gotcha.
yeah, I'm a spiritual worker. I chase demons for a living.
Right.
Okay. Like
Right.
that.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Being taken seriously out of the window, but also
Yeah.
people get paranoid because
Yeah.
if something
Oh,
happens in their life, the first thing they're gonna think
that
is like, oh, maybe
guy.
Reda did something. Yeah, maybe Reda.
Yes.
Or like you get into an argument and then they have an argument with their wife or their loved ones or whatever, or they start having a little bit of bad luck. Even you didn't do anything.
Right.
So these are two very good
Interesting.
reasons why no one knows. When people
Okay.
ask me, I'm a business owner and I'm an entrepreneur, none of your business. Okay. And if I really respect the person, I tell them, you know what? I can't tell you because if I would tell you something, it would be a lie. Okay.
Mm.
These are like my really close friends, like, well, Reda, what do you do? You know,
Right.
what do you do for a living? Like, anyways.
Yeah.
So to explain magic,
Yeah.
in Arabic, they might call it sihr, okay, which has a negative connotation, but I personally don't think so.
Hmm.
But sihr, as any good Arabic word, has many, many definitions. So someone can have it's like bewitching, a bewitching
Mm.
gaze, or a bewitching voice, or a bewitching manner of talking and speaking and expressing themselves. Or just sometimes, like people could have a bewitching walk. You know, some people just how they
Yes.
walk, you're like, woo,
Yeah.
you know?
Right.
So that's bewitching.
Mm.
But then after that, women put makeup on, right?
Hmm.
So you're doing something that seems silly on the outside with an ulterior motive because it brings out your eyes or brings out your lips or so that is, in my opinion, a form of magic. And then when you look
Mm.
at a ritual, you're getting there at a certain time, you're facing a certain direction, you're saying specific words, maybe using specific hand gestures and postures.
Right.
Isn't that what the Muslims are doing 5 times a day?
That's true. Yeah.
Isn't that what the people are doing on Sunday Mass?
Hmm.
Isn't that what the people are doing in the synagogue?
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
because they're burning incense, doing all these things, reciting these orations, and then praying and da 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 da, and it's a ritual,
Hmm.
right? So for me, magic takes a very large sense, which is doing anything apparent with an
Hmm.
ulterior, intangible effect.
Right.
You know, for me, at a larger sense.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. I
Oh,
don't know,
yeah.
but this is how I see it. This is how I see it. Because yeah, I mean, some people just the way they look at you, I don't know, you can see it, I don't have it,
Right.
but just
Right.
the way they look at you, like, ooh,
Yeah.
they kind of like, she casted a spell on me. He
Right.
casted a spell on me. I'm under his spell.
Hmm.
Where does that come from? I wonder,
Right.
you know?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I definitely think that that's sort of when I've asked folks that either practice occultism or magic or anything, that's pretty much it. It's just like you're influencing certain outcomes and that
Yeah.
aiming for. So that's
Yeah. I
very
mean,
cool.
if you walk in on me, I'm either talking to a piece of paper
Right.
or a wall for 6 hours. In
Right.
any culture scenario, whoever the observer is, I am officially cuckoo. I am
Right.
nuts, right?
Yeah.
But if you ask the client who got the results, well, Reddit can talk to all the walls he wants
All day long. Yeah.
all day long. I'm okay with that. But
Yes.
yeah, I mean, again, apparently, it seems you don't understand, but there is an ulterior motive.
Yes. Oh, wow. Wonderfully explained. Okay, so kind of the last question regarding all the things we talked about. It was a video, I think it was a recent video that you put together about repeating words and how that's in itself is sort of magical.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
That is a very low. I think that if that is not the
The
most
lotus, most
loaded,
loaded.
the lotus of the lotus, the lotus temple.
Oh,
So basically, okay, so to go back to the origin of the cosmos,
mm,
God created the cosmos, and He
hmm,
said, "Be." So in Arabic, like we have the kun fayakun, which means that when God creates something, he says kun fayakun, mean be it, it is. So he says
Right.
be and it is. And if you go to the book of Genesis, right, about the formation of the world, in the
Hmm.
beginning was the word, and the word was with God. So the
Yeah.
word is sound. And I was reading an article the other day. Uh, Maybe I can send you the link if you want to
Yeah.
reference it
Yeah.
for your audience. And it was scientifically proven that um, the whole cosmos was created through sound. So it has this creative power
Yeah.
because what the ancient Taoists discovered is that the chi, the ether, follows sound.
Mm.
So that is one dimension of it, is if you're trying to create a change in the outside world spiritually,
Yeah.
sound is a very way to do it. And when you look at the power of the word, I mean, I have people who have generational curses because their grandmother cursed their other grandmother
Oh no.
just by saying, I
Right.
hope you and your whole family gets dismantled or destroyed or whatever, just by saying,
Right.
okay? Just by saying, I'm telling you guys, this is not, I have seen it. And
Hmm.
not once, not twice. If I'm telling you, this is not like something out of the ordinary. Okay. So that is the creative and destructive power of sound, because
Right.
maybe you heard that they're working on sound weapons now, right?
That, yes.
So
That's right.
exactly. So that's
Hmm.
very dangerous. Then you also have the mantras, you know, in
Mm.
the Indian culture, and that we have dhikr. But the dhikr is really just a mantra. It's a way of, but God tells us in the Quran, if you remember me, I remember you.
Mm. Beautiful.
So the dhikr means remembrance. So
Hmm.
you're just, but dhikr is like, oh, merely, I just remembered you. I just quoted you. Okay, so that's dhikr. Like, oh, someone is there. Oh, remember when he was there?
Mm.
You know? So
Yeah.
this is what we do to God. But the thing is, because God is the creator, if we, and this is like the ultimate Sufi or all mystical practices, basically self-annihilation in the divine.
Right.
So where you take on those aspects of God. You know what I'm sure, like you're referring to the video, and I'm talking like the divine names, and you
Hmm.
say, you
Yeah.
know, Ya Basir, Ya Musawwir. So by doing that, and there are also other studies that found out that just repeating any name, it will stimulate the growth of congruent cells in your brain. Like
Yeah.
if you say abundance, it will grow cells that will manifest abundance. So there's the outside effect about
Hmm.
the ether, the energy, the chi, but there's also the inside effect, which is subconscious reprogramming.
That's
And
right.
these two together converge to create magic. You know,
Yeah.
so a lot of people, my students, when they come to me, I'm going to give them a specific verse or a specific thing to recite. And then I
Hmm.
tell them, you don't do it for 3 days. You don't do it for, you do it forever. And they're like, how many, what's the number? I'm like, unlimited, you know, just
Yeah.
go for it. And after a while, they really start to see a change in themselves.
Hmm.
And then from then on, it just spirals out to circumstances and things gets, you know, they get smoothed over and their
Yeah.
relationships are doing better. And that is magic,
Yeah.
you know, that is magic. But that's how I consider repeating words, as one would
Hmm.
say, magical. We have the practice of affirmations, you know, every
Yeah.
day you should repeat affirmations. That's how I see it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's yeah. Again, so explained so simply this concept. So I appreciate that, and then it's making me think also of my kind of my journey and my own practice where I realized like, yeah, I could write things down. That was like like beefed it up, right? I could think the intention. I write it down,
Yeah.
that beefs it up another level. But when
Yeah.
I say it out loud, that's like totally different. I noticed immediately when I say things out loud, there's either the alignment happens quicker or like I realize, things are connecting faster.
Yes.
Like it's an instant connection. So it's like amazing.
And This is really important because when you're doing something, your intention, basically what you're doing is like that thing, if it's here in imagination, it exists in another dimension. And all you're trying
Yeah.
to do is just pull it here.
Yes,
So everything you
exactly.
said, you make the intention, and the
Hmm.
intention is where people go wrong. They want something they don't even know they don't even
Exactly.
know what they want.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
need to have a focused intention.
Yeah.
And then if you write it down, well, it became physical.
That's
And you
right.
know about, I'm sure you heard about it. God has a divine pen. So in many things that we do, and I don't like to go into it because a lot of people who are ignorant, they don't know what we're doing. They like to vilify the Arabic occultism practice. But
Hmm.
what we're doing is using the creative power of God because we are vice regents on this earth.
Mm,
A vice regent, you know what their role is, right? Is to represent the king. By the
right.
king's honor, I'm giving this decree.
Right.
By the king's honor, I'm giving this mandate,
So
right? He's being a
powerful.
viceroy. So, all this to say, God has a pen. He tells us that he has a pen and he has a tablet.
Yeah.
So we know that the written, the power of the written word. And then you said you repeat it. You repeat it
Hmm.
once, and you already see the difference. But
Yeah.
imagine you repeat 3 times, 300 times, 3,000 times.
Yeah.
And when people they say, "Oh, jinns work fast. Arabic magic is so powerful," that's not it. It's because you put more gas in the tank.
Yeah.
So you have the drive-through magic where you're just opening a book saying a few divine names, he ha ha, and then maybe you're gonna get a warm burger.
Right.
Or you can go to the Michelin star restaurant and then they put you in the back, in the back area, and you're like looking at the ingredients being put together. And so, which one do you want? Which one do you
Yeah.
want? Sometimes you want a quick burger, and sometimes you want the full-on five-star meal. you know?
Right.
But again, everything has a price. Are you going to sit there and wait 6 hours for this one to be made?
Hmm.
Are you going to put in the time and the effort? Most people don't want to
Yeah.
or can't or they can't be bothered. Look, it's not everything for everyone. But what you're saying is you're following that exact procedure, intention and writing it down, and that is the same exact thing that I do. Then
Hmm.
repeating the heck out of it.
Right. Yes.
It's like sometimes I'm brainwashing myself. Sometimes I finish the ritual and it's still repeating in my mind. I'm
Right.
like, oh
You're
my
like,
God.
yeah.
Yeah, what should I do?
Oh my gosh, amazing. Thank you. Oh, that was so good. I'm learning so much already, like just in our conversation. There's so many cool things. I'm so
Thank you. I
excited.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, we're kind of wrapping up, but are there
Yes.
any sort of upcoming events or projects that you want to let our audience know about?
So I learned the hard way
Uh-oh.
to not speak about anything
Oh,
before it's done.
that's a good point.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. There's something that Prophet Muhammad told us about. I ignored it to my own dismay.
that's
So
fair.
I don't announce anything, even if you look at like it's always a surprise. Even my clients, I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna work on your pact and it's gonna get fulfilled. And oof, take them by
Yeah.
surprise.
Okay.
So if I do something, it's going to be by surprise. What you can expect is more of the same, more interviews with people who are sharing their inspiring stories.
Hmm.
More tips. Sometimes I do have time to go on social media and share some tips, some insights, some advice. More of the same for sure. I mean, but I do have some stuff in store, and I would
Hmm.
rather keep it under wraps until it's ready to unveil.
Oh, yes. Again, wise words. I appreciate
Thank you.
that mentality. So where can folks find more about you, find learn what you do?
Well, I have an official, like very short to the point website, redaruhani.com.
Yeah.
I do have an Etsy store. It's called Arabic High Magic. And then you have YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. You'll find me either as Reda Ruhani or Arabic High Magic.
Okay, awesome. Lovely. And so we always kind of end. I know, again, you've given us so many words of wisdom today, but what words of wisdom would you like to leave us with today?
That's a last but not least kind of thing,
Yeah.
I would say seek God in all things, in
Yeah.
all things. Like, I know a lot of people don't believe in God. I know a lot of people don't share the same beliefs as me. I know a lot of people are poly. That's okay. That's fine. Just think about it, how like every single person I've met, they believe that there's like a source of creation that created everything. I
Right.
like to refer to him as the incomprehensible one. Like we
Mm,
don't understand it. Seek that source. That is your point in common with me, with Marilee, with all human beings, with the spirits, with the angels, with the stars. That is the common denominator. Seek that source, connect to it in whatever shape, way, or form that you do it. But seek it. It will protect you. It will bless you. It will guide you. It's already been doing that for your whole entire life. It's just a matter of seeing it again by seeking it. So seek God in all things and let practice shape your path. You know, not other people, not social media, not this person or that person, not me, you. Let
right.
practice shape your path. Do it your way.
Love it. Oh, hit right in the heart chakra. It was beautiful. Oh my gosh. Oh, well, thank you,
Well,
Reda.
it came from there.
I know. I could tell. That's why I was like, oh, I'm feeling it right in there. Yeah, thank you so much. And I'm so glad we got connected and you're amazing. And yeah, I can't wait to see all anything that you put out because it's really wonderful.
I mean, I'm very grateful to you, Marilee. You reached out. The whole process, you made it seamless, and I couldn't be happier. Yeah, thank you for having me. Thank you for anyone who tuned in, stayed with us until the end. I really appreciate it. And yeah, maybe we do another one in the future if you have
Yeah, I'd
some
love it.
other, a whole other layer, I don't
Oh,
know. We could do it. Yeah.
yes. I would love that for sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Your support means the world to us. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please take a moment to like, comment, and share it with others who might find this content valuable. And of course, don't forget to hit that subscribe button to stay tuned for more enlightening discussions. Your engagement helps us grow, and we appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for being a part of the Casual Temple community.